If Star Wars does anything well, apart from sublime alien landscapes, monolithic ships, and space wizards, of course, it is sage and crafty characters. On the flip side though, this is also a series about idiots being idiots, focusing on characters with fundamental flaws that lead to galactic-wide consequences. So whether intentional or because of inconsistent writing, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 dumbest decisions made by Star Wars characters. Number 10, Obi-Wan hides Luke on Vader's home planet, Revenge of the Sith. Okay, so this entry is actually a collection of dumb yet iconic decisions, all centering around Obi-Wan pulling off an insanely risky plan that somehow works. So, as you probably remember, at the conclusion of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker has gone full Darth Vader mode, and the galaxy is controlled by the evil Galactic Empire. Also, Anakin's twin children are born orphans, and to hide them from their father, Leia goes to Bail Organa and her name is changed, where she grows up none the wiser. Job done, she's safe. So you might think that this seems like an opportune moment for Obi-Wan to get the other child, Luke, out of Dodge with a similar plan. Well, you'd think that, because instead he naturally takes him to Anakin Skywalker's home planet of Tatooine and leaves the boy in the care of Anakin's own relatives. For reasons best known to Owen and Beru, Luke's aunt and uncle, they let the boy keep the Skywalker family name rather than christening him with their own, Lars. But that's not where these surname-based shenanigans end. Oh, no. See, Obi-Wan also keeps most of his name intact. I mean, you're not fooling anyone with Ben Kenobi. Now, having said all of this, it's actually to Vader's discredit as much as it is to Obi-Wan's that neither him nor the Empire found Luke with these myriad of clues pointing directly towards him. Number 9, Vice Admiral Holdo doesn't tell Poe the plan, The Last Jedi. In the absence of General Leia Organa in The Last Jedi, Vice Admiral Holdo takes charge of the Resistance's last ships as they run from the First Order, but purposefully omits telling Poe Dameron, their best pilot and captain, who is known to be headstrong and daring with a hair-trigger penchant for action, the plan. Holdos are not the actions of a good leader, whichever way you cut it, as this causes mistrust among the ranks and a Poe-led mutiny. Granted, she has no obligation to actually tell Poe the plan if she even had one going in, but there's also no real need to play it so close to the chest either. And if she didn't have a plan to begin with, all the more reason to bring Poe on board, as he has proven himself on multiple occasions to be a competent tactician and leader. Now, Leia bears at least some of the brunt of this dumb decision, as she seems to have left Holdo in place intentionally to give Poe a kind of public dressing down, and sure, to try and safeguard the rest of the fleet against the brash loss of life and valuable ships that Poe did drive them to at the beginning of the film, but still. Number 8. Anakin rushes Dooku, Attack of the Clones. I'm taking him now. If there was ever a phrase to sum up the actions and temperament of sulky late-teen Anakin Skywalker, it's this. Cried as he runs full pelt, arms flailing at Count Dooku, a Sith Lord 10 times the young Skywalker's dueling caliber at the time, and not to mention the man who trained Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. Anakin, of course, gets pinged off the Geonosian hangar wall by Dooku's Force Lightning, leaving Obi-Wan to fight the Count alone. One thing leads to another, which then leads to Anakin's arm being lopped off at the elbow, another martyr to George Lucas's lost limb fetish. Aside from the obvious, this poor decision led to many ominous consequences, most notably providing Anakin with a mechanical hand, indicating his first physical step on the path to becoming Vader. Luckily, Anakin learned patience, strategy, and endurance throughout his time spent fighting on the front and leading from the rear during the Clone Wars, and his next encounter with Dooku in Revenge of the Sith would prove to be Dooku's last. Number 7, Saw sends Bodhi to Bor Gullet, Rogue One. Legendary guerrilla fighter Saw Gerrera might have spent decades running devastating sabotage and covert operations against the Empire, but that does not mean that he is in any way an objective rationalist. In fact, it's far from it. In Rogue One, Imperial cargo pilot Bodhi Rook defects from the Empire carrying a holographic message from Galen Erso, the man who designed the Death Star with his fatal flaw, and demands to be taken to Saw, to whom he wishes to bring valuable information that could help overthrow the Empire, which is supposed to be one of Saw's life goals. So, job done, right? Well, unfortunately not. The radicalized Saw's years spent in hiding, looking over his shoulder with one eye always open, have led him to be skeptical of new alliances. So, suspecting this guy is a double agent, he decides to give the ex-pilot to Bor Gullet, a tentacle monster with the ability to read and scour other minds, to torture and test him and, ultimately, addle his brain. Not recognizing Bodhi for the wealth of practical value and information that he can provide in the fight against the Empire is Saw's final slip-up, and one which, had things been different, may or may not have helped him get out of Dodge before the Empire struck back. Number 6. Jar Jar calls for Palpatine to be granted emergency powers, Attack of the Clones. By a healthy bit of political wangling and good old-fashioned bureaucratic incompetence, Jar Jar Binks was somehow appointed as a junior delegate for Naboo in the Galactic Senate, though in Legends canon, it was actually Palpatine himself who made sure this happened, and with good reason. In the absence of Senator Padme Amidala, who had been captured by the Separatists on Geonosis, Jar Jar led the call for the Senate to grant emergency powers to Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, allowing him to adopt a convenient and timely Kamino-made clone army as the new army of the Republic. Thus, Jar Jar's actions paved the way for Palpatine to take absolute control at the head of the First Galactic Empire, and the many horrors that are to come. Number 5, Queen Amidala calls a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum, the Phantom Menace. In The Phantom Menace, a whole decade prior to Jar Jar's call for emergency powers, Queen Amidala took the mic in the Senate and moved for a vote of no confidence in the sitting Chancellor Valorum. There, she feared that nothing was being done by the Republic to intervene with the Trade Federation's occupation and blockade of her planet Naboo, and was encouraged by her friend, confidant, and fellow Naboo native Sheev Palpatine to dethrone Valorum, allowing someone who would take immediate action to fill his place. And someone did, old Sheevy boy himself, who played all sides in making sure that he was selected for the position, compounding the first major phase of his plan for galactic domination. And after all that, the new Chancellor was also slow to intervene, and it took the actions of 2 Jedi, a small squadron of security volunteers, a Gungan army, and a little boy named Anakin Skywalker to take back the planet. Number 4, the Death Star 2 was built with the same fatal flaw as its predecessor, Return of the Jedi. Now, you might think that the disaster of the first Death Star would have taught Palpatine about making your giant deadly space balls impenetrable to attack. But then who are we to ponder the whims and wisdom of an apparent Emperor Sith Lord? Now, granted, Luke Skywalker was able to destroy the original Death Star in A New Hope via a small exhaust port that guided his torpedoes to the space station's reactor, whereas in Return of the Jedi, the ships have to enter the inner workings of the station and fire on the core directly. Though the delivery is different, the method and end result remains the same, and the second Death Star is blown up from the inside out. The key to all this destruction is the core of the station itself, and the way in which it creates a chain reaction annihilating the entire structure rather than, say, a small internal event that causes a brief system shutdown and the rerouting of power from a secondary source. While the cunning or failures of the architects and builders allowed this to come to fruition, the responsibility for ensuring such a build was rebel-proof sits squarely on Palpatine's wrinkly old shoulders. But perhaps his thirst for power and mad, cackling desire to dominate once again triumphed over his rational thinking. Number 3, Palpatine broadcasts his return to the entire galaxy, The Rise of Skywalker. Having spent 3 decades working in the shadows, moving players and puppets around the galaxy and cultivating the kind of anonymity that actors Luke Skywalker could only dream of, a resurrected Palpatine blows it all before the opening credits of the final film in the Star Wars saga, The Rise of Skywalker. See, Palpatine has assembled an armada of Star Destroyers on Sith planet Exegol and is almost ready to mobilize and strike when he suddenly decides that this is the time to broadcast himself to every corner of the galaxy. Like he's a guy announcing that he's just arrived to the party. Sure, he did want to attract Kylo Ren and by extension Rey to Exegol, but he could have quite easily done that under the radar, to let his ego run away with him and so brazenly announce his return was the final nail in Palpatine's coffin. Would any ships have come to the Resistance's aid in the Rise of Skywalker if they had not known they were stopping the Emperor? Well, the finale of The Last Jedi says no. Number 2, Anakin tries for the high ground, Revenge of the Sith. In the prequels' finale, Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan travels to Mustafar to challenge Anakin Skywalker, now a newly minted Darth Vader, and an epic duel ensues between the former allies. The two trade blows above liquid hot magma, but the rhythm that they have developed through years of training and practice prevents a clear victor from emerging. In a move to end the combat though, Obi-Wan takes refuge on one of the lava river's high banks, leaving Anakin hovering on a skiff just meters below. Thus, Obi utters his immortal line, "It's over, Anakin, I have the high ground." But does young Skywalker heed his old master's warning? Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that he doesn't, and blinded by the power of the dark side, Palpatine's corruption of his spirit, and the apparent betrayal of the woman he threw it all in for, he makes a brash leap overhead. But in his attempt to gain the even higher ground, a move coincidentally that Obi-Wan himself actually used to defeat Darth Maul, Anakin is cut into chunks by the more experienced Jedi's lightsaber and is left limbless and burning. Perhaps the dumbest decision here was to engage Obi-Wan in a fight in the first place, but after seeing that he had been led there by Padme, there was really no going back for him. Number 1, Luke abandons the New Republic and the Resistance, The Force Awakens. Somewhere between the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, Star Wars' OG hero Luke Skywalker went AWOL. Why? Well, he attempted to train Han Solo and Leia Organa's son Ben, screwed it all up something horrid, and suffered the consequences. That being Ben's new dark side alter ego Kylo Ren killing Luke's other students and burning his Jedi temple to the ground. Consumed by grief and fearing his own flirtations with the dark side, he fled to the far-off reaches of the galaxy, specifically to a planet in the unknown regions and original home of the Jedi Order, willfully ignoring the rise of the First Order and wisely shunning the Force in one of the galaxy's Force hotspots. In any case, like his father before him, Luke has always been prone to rash decisions, like ditching his training to face Vader and losing his hand in the process. And can we blame him? Luke did this so he couldn't take on any more apprentices and couldn't drive either himself or any others towards the dark side. Unfortunately for all though, by the time The Force Awakens rolls around, Luke's friends and family are in danger and he is nowhere to be found. But the very fact that he left maps to his whereabouts out there surely means that he wasn't quite ready to give up completely. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these decisions in the Star Wars universe? And are there any dumber ones that I missed off here? While you're down there as well, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.